So today we're going to be looking at the Instinct range from Crabtree. We're going to be looking at their electrical accessories, probably the ones commonly used in domestic dwellings, and we're going to be looking at the key features of those that make electricians' life easier. We know here on eFIXX how we love a product that makes electricians' life easier. However, before we start that, I'm sure everyone's shouting at the TV screen, Gaz, they're wrapped in plastic, and nobody likes plastic nowadays. However, when you look at the accessory itself, within its plastic bag, you can clearly see the symbol for recycling there in the corner. So therefore, once the electrician's opened it, this plastic bag can be recycled. What we're going to do is bring the camera in nice and close and have a look at those features that will make electricians' life easier. So let's just identify some of the accessories that we've got in this Instinct range in front of us. We've got a 2-gang switch, a 1-gang switch, single and twin socket outlets, fuse connection units, a cooker switch, and a USB twin socket outlet. So let's have a look at some of these features that are going to make electricians' life easier. Let's take a twin socket outlet and turn it over, and you can see there that our termination terminals are all in line. Okay, they're all upwardly facing, making it easier for the electrician to come along with a screwdriver in order to tighten up the terminations into the back of the socket outlet itself. We see this repeated. If I take my 2-gang light switch, again you can see the same method repeated again, upwardly facing termination screws, and they're all in a line, identified common L1, L2, etc. Let's go back again, let's look at a fuse connection unit. Once again we can see the terminations have upwardly facing screws and they're all in a line. Okay, that should make it easier to connect the conductors into the back of the electrical accessory. There is always an exception to the rule. When we look at the back of our cooker outlet where our double pole switch is, okay, we've got our screw terminations for line and neutral here. So slight variation on that. Obviously they couldn't get them all in a line on this one, but the rest of the accessories here all have inline upwardly facing screws. Let's continue looking at these terminations on the back of the actual accessories themselves. Okay, these are caged terminals. So in other words, when we tighten them down, they squeeze up onto the conductors and not send an individual screw into the conductors. They're also captive screws. So when you wind them back, you can't actually wind them back and therefore then fall out of the electrical accessory itself. So captive screws in caged terminals. If I just drop a conductor in, okay, we can see if we can tighten one of these off and then perhaps compare it to a screwed termination. So we go in like so, take our screwdriver, I'm going to tighten that one up, like so. So got that nice and tight. Let's undo it and have a look at those. Wind them back off, put that to one side. Okay, you can see there that we haven't got any of that mark section where an individual screw would go into the actual conductors. We've clamped them like so, making the maximum surface area to maximum surface area within the outlet against the conductors themselves. So let's compare that to a traditional screwed type termination. So if I put this in like so again, and I'm going to tighten those down like so. Okay, then let's back off the screw. And now you can see actual indents where the screw has gone into the actual conductor itself, and that's the point of which we have our electrical connection. So the cage terminal had a larger surface area clamping onto the copper itself. The old traditional screw ones make a weakened section within the copper and only make electrical connection at the point of contact. Okay, so let's have a look at another key feature. Let's look at the profile. So in other words, the thickness of the electrical accessory. So I picked up a 1-gang light switch and that's its profile there. Let's pick up the largest electrical current rated item we have in front of us here, which is the cooker switch. We can see obviously the backs of them are considerably different, but let's look at the profile itself. The profile is identical. So in other words, the thickness of this plastic here and here are identical. So if we were to put accessories, say in a kitchen, side by side, we actually have identical profiles. Therefore, they stick out exactly the same distance as they would with the same profile. So we haven't got one that's larger than the other. So I like that. It's a nice key feature. Another feature about these accessories, some of them have a built-in orange LED. So this socket and these two fuse connection units have an orange LED in them. So obviously when we've got our socket outlet, in this case in the on position, you'd see a glowing orange LED. That's a nice feature. However, when we come to look at things like insulation resistance testing, the LED then starts to become a slight problem. But if we turn over the accessory, it's a simple case of just removing the tag here, and you would be able to carry out your insulation resistance test with the orange LED removed from circuit. So let's have a look at the difference between the two fuse connection units. This one here has incorporated into it a security screw. So this screw requires a quarter of a turn with a specialist key in order to access the chamber where the fuse would live. So we can lift that up, and normally there would be a fuse in there. So that quarter of a turn adds a little bit of security. Maybe this was used for a hand dryer in a public area, and somebody could come along and obviously pop the fuse out for fun. But obviously with this quarter of a turn security key requiring a specialist tool to open it, it prevents people from doing that. Obviously they could turn it off at the switch, but of course that's easy to turn back on, say, to get the hand dryer working again. The USB charger itself, once you've plugged into here and charged, say, an iDevice, etc., once that device is up to full charge, this actually cuts off, preventing the charge from continuing, which does two things. It saves the life of the battery you've plugged in, but also means it doesn't waste electrical energy by charging something that doesn't require charging. So that's a nice little feature of their USB socket outlet. The Instinct socket outlets themselves incorporate a multi-safety shutter system that is designed to prevent inadvertent or improper access to it. So in other words, to these live pins here, shutters. So if I take a screwdriver and push it into the earth pin, so it's gone fully in, and then we take another screwdriver and try and insert it into one of the live pins, you can see that the shutters are still actually closed, therefore only opening the access to them when you use the standard 13 amp plug top. When I push that into position, you can see it easily goes into the actual connections themselves. Wow, considerably more features there than even I was expecting for this Instinct range from Crabtree. It clearly shows they had the electrician in mind when they were designing these products. And we like products at eFIXX that make electricians' life easier, down to the fact that even the packaging is recyclable, and all the features they've crammed into this range, we believe they'll make electricians' life easier. And we like that.